All right, cool, we're all set. All right, good afternoon, everybody. How are we all doing this afternoon? My name is Curtis Harrison. I'm 27 years old, and I'm originally from Lismore, New South Wales, which is like 2 hours south of Brisbane, just over the border. I'm currently working at Sullivan Nicoletti's pathology lab, and in my spare time, as host mentioned before, I do film work any spare chance I get and when budgets suit. It's what I hope I want to do one day as a full-time job. So when I was preparing this talk, I forgot to change that. When I was preparing this talk, I wanted to ask for some help. So who should I call? Obviously not the Ghostbusters. Mum was always there. Mum was always ready to give advice. She's advice was, people want to hear about the things that we find hard, which we've already mentioned before. Don't just concentrate on how good you are or how good you can be. I used to do this a lot when I was looking for work to cover up the fact that I was unemployed for 2 years. So good advice. I'll take the difficulties, but I also want to celebrate my successes. I hope I can strike the right balance between the good and the bad. Oh yeah. So in life, we all have obstacles, but I've had more to deal with, and with more than a lot of people. When life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. I was first diagnosed with high-functioning autism when I was 6 by Dr. Tony Atwood, who's not here unfortunately, to the initial dismay of my parents. And at the time I was diagnosed, there was very little information or support. And as you can see, 1 in 10 people, there we go. 1 in 10 people are now autistic, and this since the publishing of the attachment parenting book only 18 years ago, so a real dramatic change. When I was growing up as a little kid, I wasn't that interested in being social. In the lunch breaks, I wanted to play with Lego and not be involved in any group activities like Ring Around the Rosie or Duck Duck Goose. I just wanted the whole world to myself. My outlets included pretending to be a Power Ranger or using my imagination to create cool, I'll use this imagination later on to make short films today. I just had no idea at the time it would be a good resource to what I'm trying to get into much later on in life. As a child, I showed some recognized traits of autism, including stemming. I love to fidget with my hands, constantly scratch myself, and playing with my loose elbow skin. We had very limited range of foods I would eat. Mum said she could count on 10 fingers the foods I would eat. About age 5, she discovered that I like spicy food, which I know a lot of you can relate to, and could include extra veggies disguised in curry, Mexican flavors. We found a breakthrough. Extra sensitivity to loud or high-pitched noise, this caused a massive problem when I went to the organ which played at my local Catholic church. This would also shape how I would deal with noise at places as an adult when I would go out. I don't like many nightclubs, or when I'm brave to go and watch bands I like to see, I usually check in on the venues to make sure that the sound volume is not too extreme. So, difficulty knowing social cues and facial expressions, this caused problem with making friends or getting people to understand me. At high school, my difficulties would include holding eye contact, would become an issue. Help came from an unexpected person. This helped getting to understand me. What do you do, as I said, I will hold a conversation with you, and you are going to look me in the eyes, and I'm going to look away. And it felt really strange to me that it worked. It helped slowly transition into trying to look people in the eye at least 90% of the time. Such a little thing, but it was a massive help. I would become very upset by changes in routine or when dealing with new situations. I would still need lots of warning or notice if someone wants to help me. So, and I'll try to get things done well in advance, because 9 times out of 10, that's how life usually ends up. And I've had a few moments where I've been spontaneous, but they're few far between. So, with lots of help and encouragement from early intervention, because I thankfully grew up in an area where that was starting to get developed, my teachers and parents worked my way through the tricky high school years. I completed a school-based traineeship with the local council pool and gym centre back in my hometown. I've always been involved in sport and trying to keep fit as much as possible. This included many hours as a lifeguard, standing in one small area, attentively watching mainly kids pee in the pool. It was maintaining concentration and breaks, well, few and far between. This soon petered out after I leaving school. And I think the new manager just didn't understand me or give me any leeways when they came in because I was hired under different management. So finally, Mum organised experience at her current workplace, which is Southern Leclerc's pathology lab back in the hometown of Lismore. She is now retired, lucky her. Months of negotiating finally led to part-time job at the main lab in Brisbane. So moving home and moving to the big city involved many changes, and we all know that change is hard for people in autism, obviously not in this country because we are one massive city. My brother, Paul, kindly agreed to let me move in with him and share rental costs. My brother is 6 years older than me, so we never really bonded much at home, and he moved out as soon as he turned 18, he was out the door. It was like building a relationship from the start and playing years of catch up. We both had to work out sorting our house sharing arrangements and my need for time out. When his girlfriend Lisa moved in, it was time to again sort out how to deal with this change. I think I gave her a hard time, but now we have a good relationship. She has to learn about my sometimes tricky temperament and the fact that I sometimes need time alone since she had no prior experience. She has learnt to give me lots of warning if she needs something to be done. Also, it's much easier for me when there's written hand instructions when need be. So, this is how it relates to this one. I recently asked my family members what they admired about me. They especially noticed that I'm willing to give almost anything a crack, such as flyboarding, flying a plane, or even skydiving or running a marathon, or swimming with dolphins or any of the other ones I have on there surfing. No, I'm not Tom Cruise. He's much shorter than me, and also, how I try to explain my actions resembles like using humour and avoid yelling. I manage fairly well in my job. The hardest part is dealing with difficult workmates. I really want to be friendly with everyone, but sometimes I overstep the mark. One lady complained because I asked her what she was doing on the weekend, and she told me nothing. So I asked her again, she said the same answer. And then I joked saying she was boring. Yeah. She took it the wrong way and complained to the boss. And at my workplace, I see the exact same people every time I come into work. I don't want to be friends with me, but I want at least be able to know who they are, especially when you're seeing the same people every day. And also over time, I've learned not everyone is like social. Life outside of work was hard at first, trying to make new friends outside my friendship group, and I find my way around Brisbane. I like to be very organised when I want to be. I begin planning my new life in the big city. I started looking for places where noise levels weren't too high. Found a great place in the Fortune Valley, which is a suburb of Brisbane, called Neverworld. I don't imagine any of you have been there. It's where you can have a drink and play video and board and arcade games at the same time. So I find it's a lot easier to socialise and make minimal eye contact or have a continual conversation. Also, instead of worrying about talking, you can just play games. I had one great friend who came to Brisbane. His name is Nick. I spent time at his flat and he introduced me to his mates. They are great, and we spend parties and go away camping together. We've all climbed Mount Barney twice now. This is the most recent trip, and as you know, if you know Barney. So, I like to cook now, especially Mexican food, a lot. From being a child who ate very little, I emerged from my cocoon into a great cook. No Jamie Oliver or any famous chefs from Singapore. I invite friends around to cook for them. This is a great way to keep contact. Most people would say no to a free meal. So riding my bike helps as well. I only live 20 minutes from the city, and It helps keep my body fit and my mind clear. I also play basketball. Some weeks I get a chance to socialise, or any other sports such as rugby or anything like that. Just what doesn't give me too much sensory overload. I really like making everything about film. This includes making films, editing, reviewing them online. I recently finished my film and media course in diploma at Mount Gravatt TAFE, and the short films and hopefully long films are getting better over time. I think the key to success in any life is something you love and sticking at it. For me, this is the love of anything to do with filmmaking. It's also very important to find people who accept you for who you are. Hope that was good for you, cameraman. Yep. And we have people who lots of work and research. It is possible for me and others on the autism spectrum to live a full life and learn how to fit in with into non-Aspie world. Also, I believe it's important not to hide the fact that we live with autism. It's easier to understand the quirks if I explain how an autism changes the way we think and see things. Because I believe if I don't say something, I'm part of the problem. And the same for everyone else who might have autism. Hopefully over time we'll see more people like me doing stuff like this. Thank you all for listening to me. I hope that you enjoyed the story and have a wonderful experience, and give inspiration and hope to others both on and off the spectrum. Thanks. Obviously questions at the end.